Hey everyone, Rho here. Well, Russ Week is underway, and before we continue on with our discussions about the Lion and Russ's rivalry, I wanted to discuss Russ's relationship with his father, the Emperor of Mankind. Was Leman Russ the Emperor's most trusted son? General spoiler warning to begin, as we will be discussing events from across the Warhammer 40k universe, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. The Emperor and his executioner, forever intertwined within the lore. However, how much do we actually know about their relationship? How close were they truly? How much faith did the Emperor have in Leman of the Russ? Well, today we're going to attempt to answer that question. So, the Emperor's relationship with Russ obviously began when the Emperor found him upon the world of Fenris. And while unfortunately we haven't had an in-depth first-hand view of this, we do know that Russ challenged the Emperor to 3 challenges: an eating competition, a drinking competition, and then a straight up fight. All in all, the true spirit of Fenris. And as we also know, the Emperor ultimately proved the victor, with Russ then swearing fealty to his father. Now, while we may not have been able to see this firsthand as of yet, we have had the next best thing in seeing the Emperor introduce Horus to the newly found Russ. And this was set barely a matter of weeks after the initial reunion itself, taking place in the Horus Heresy novel Wolfsbane by Guy Haley, which, as many of you know, is one of my absolute all-time favourites. Now, during this introduction, it really comes across strongly how happy and proud the Emperor is to have finally found Russ. As the Emperor and Horus watch from afar, the jealous Horus is looking down at the Fenrisian primitives with no small amount of disdain. However, it's made clear the Emperor's face is beaming with pride, staring intently at his newly found son. Of course, a portion of that would no doubt be because Russ is only the second found son, so it has that promise of the future. Finding Russ means that the rest are now much more of a certainty. However, it's reinforced as their conversation continues at just how happy with Russ the Emperor is. He genuinely marvels glowingly at the fact that Russ had conquered half of Fenris when he found him, and that if he hadn't have found him then, he would have soon conquered it all. The Emperor even laughs at the thought of Russ challenging him to an eating contest. It's a rare moment of seeing the human side of the Emperor, the fatherly nature within. This is no strained relationship, or even just a more practical one. It's really evident right from this beginning, the Emperor is elated to have found him. As Horus is reeling from realizing he's going to have to share his father's attention, he tries to claim Russ may turn. He may betray his father. And the Emperor doesn't even consider this, not even for a split second. We don't get some form of vague Emperor answer on the risks of the galaxy, or even I don't think that's likely to happen. Instead, the Emperor simply states he will not, and it's made clear and reinforced with certainty. It absolutely gives the impression that even from this early moment of reunion, the Emperor has complete and utter trust in Russ. To me, it raises the question here, Was Russ always intended to be the executioner? Was he created specifically for that purpose? Because it certainly feels that way judging the Emperor's reactions here. It feels like the Emperor truly is certain, and bearing in mind he's not long reunited with him himself, with Russ having only learned to speak Gothic a few days ago, it really feels like here there hasn't been enough time to justify the Emperor having such faith and trust in him. So there has to be more to why he feels that way. And this to me lends to the reasoning that Russ was specifically created to be his faithful executioner, the one who would deal with the others if needed. And so maybe this is why the Emperor is so certain so soon, because he knows just who and what he has found. And this alone isn't the only piece of evidence we have to gauge the Emperor's faith or trust in Russ. Later, after the heresy is broken out, we receive another telling piece of insight into his opinions. And this is during a conversation he has with Malcador, which takes place in the novel Vengeful Spirit by Graham McNeill. Now here, Malcador is psychically talking with the Emperor, who is busy upon the Golden Throne, marshalling the war within the Webway, and this is set after Magnus's calamity and Russ has devastated Prospero. And it begins with Malcador informing the Emperor of the Lion heading to Macragge, to, well, oversee Guilliman, shall we say. However, after that, their conversation turns to Russ, and Malcador is a little hesitant here, and worried about Russ's intent to go and face Horus, remarking he feels Russ's axe may be falling a little too readily. However, the Emperor has no such concerns, simply replying that Russ's axe falls on those deserving it. So again, the Emperor is displaying absolutely no doubt in Russ whatsoever. And this is then even further reinforced when Malcador essentially asks, well, what if Russ gets carried away? And here, the Emperor replies that Russ is one of the few that he knows will never fall. And Malcador later relays this trust to Russ during their last meeting before he departs Terra, claiming where so many of the others are disappointments, Russ is not. His father trusts him. He relies on him to perform his duty. And honestly, to me, the trust and faith the Emperor has in Russ is clearly beyond question. Whether it's the way he created him, the role he created him for, or simple affection, the Emperor trusts Russ implicitly. Now, who those other few are the Emperor knows will never fall, well, I guess that's a discussion for another day. But is Russ the most trusted son? Well, we can't say for certain, but I'd certainly put him in the running for it, and I'd maybe even make him the favourite. Much like the Emperor's own words, I really think there's only a precious few that could give him any competition. Rogaldorn, Vulcan, and maybe the Lion being such a few. Regardless, however, the Emperor trusts Russ implicitly. But what of the rest of their relationship? Was it simple trust, or was there a more paternal connection as well? Well, as seen from their reunion, the Emperor certainly appears to have had a very good relationship with Russ, even from the very beginning. And the loyalty that Russ displays gives further credence to that. The novel Wolfsbane also tells us that Russ spent a lot of time together with the Emperor upon Terra when he was first found. And so that implies that the Emperor most likely was able to spend more time with Russ than maybe many of his later brothers had the luxury of. And after that, with the pressures of time the Emperor always had, Russ then spent more time under the tutelage of Malcador, and so he fostered a good relationship with the old man as well. Perhaps the best evidence of the Emperor's relationship with Russ is the Wolf King's reaction to the end of the heresy, and this we get to see in Russ's Primarch novel, The Great Wolf, by Chris Wright. Here we're told, when Russ learns of the Emperor's fate and views him upon the throne, he flees in grief. A Primarch, a demigod warrior, fleeing through the halls of the palace in overwhelming emotion and grief. I think that would really tell us everything it needs to. However, after passing out upon the floor within the depths of the palace, the Emperor then speaks to Russ within his dream, helping his son reaffirm his duty, re-find his purpose, come to terms with his grief. Now maybe in time we'll find out that the Emperor does this for all his remaining loyal sons. And I actually really hope that that is the case, because the more interaction we get of the Emperor with the Primarchs, the better. But for now, it's the final piece of evidence that we need, to reaffirm that their relationship wasn't just as an Emperor and his general, but one of a father and his son. But as always guys, what do you think? Why do you think Russ was one of the Emperor's most trusted and, dare I say, favoured sons? Was it simply due to his genetic creation, the role for which he was intended? Or was there more to it? Was it the son and Primarch that he found upon Fenris? Was it more the emotional bonding with the man that Russ had grown to be? How do you think this compares to the Emperor's relationship with more of his other favoured sons, the ones we know he was close to, such as Vulcan, such as Corax? And in regards to Russ's role as executioner, do you feel it was down to simple genetic creation, or was this a role that Russ grew to achieve? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. If you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.